Welcome to Talk Treatises.
Hello.
Today, we are opening up a text that, on the surface, looks like a logic puzzle, but if you really dig into it, you realize it's actually the scene of a crime.
Oh, it is absolutely a crime scene, and not just, a petty theft. We are talking about parricide.
Killing the father.
Exactly. And in this case, the father isn't a person. It's an idea. The father of a whole way of thinking about logic, about what it means for something to be. We're diving into Plato's Sophist.
Now, when people think of Plato, there's a very specific image that comes to mind. It's Socrates, right? Calm conversations in the agora, maybe some wine, talking about the good, the true, the beautiful.
Socratic method, the dialogue, yeah.
But this one feels different right from the start. It doesn't feel like a philosophical chat. It feels like a manhunt.
It is a manhunt.
Yeah.
It's a detective story where the suspect, the sophist, is a complete shapeshifter. He's slippery, he keeps changing his appearance, and this is the really dangerous part. He hides inside the very structure of logic.
So to catch him,
you have to break the universe, or at least break the rules of philosophy as they existed at the time.
Okay, let's set the stage. We're in Athens, 4th century BC. What's the intellectual climate like? Because this isn't the golden age of Pericles anymore, is it?
No, not at all. The mood has shifted.
Okay.
This is a time of, I'd say, intellectual crisis. The city is just crawling with these figures called sophists. And to get why Plato is writing this, you have to understand what a sophist represented to the, let's call it, the old guard of philosophy.
These were the original wise guys, right? The traveling teachers for hire.
Essentially, yes. They were like high-end consultants. They'd roll into town, charge these exorbitant fees, and promise to teach young, ambitious men virtue.
But what were they really teaching?
Rhetoric. How to win an argument. How to be persuasive, regardless of whether you were right or wrong. How to make the weaker argument appear the stronger.
So, the original spin doctors. Or maybe high-priced lawyers.
You could even say, to use a more modern analogy, they were like masters of deepfake. They created an image of truth that was so convincing, it didn't matter if it was actually true.
Okay, but here's the thing that seems so strange to us now. To accuse the sophist of being a liar, you have to prove that lies can exist in the first place.
Exactly. And that's the massive intellectual hurdle this entire dialogue is built to overcome.
See, that sounds almost absurd to a modern ear. Of course lies exist. I can say, I am currently on the moon. That's a lie. It exists. I just said it.
To us, it's completely obvious.
Yeah.
But that's because we're standing on the other side of the bridge that Plato built in this very text. In the 4th century BC, there was a giant blocking the road.
A philosophical giant.
A philosophical giant. His name was Parmenides.
The father.
The father. Parmenides was the head of the Eleatic school of thought, and he laid down this very strict, very intimidating logical law. He basically said, what is what is not, is not.
Which on the surface just sounds like a tautology. It is what it is.
But he took it with an absolute, brutal, literal rigor. His point was, if what is not does not exist, if it's nothing, then you cannot speak of it. You can't even think of it.
Why not?
Because the moment you think of it, it becomes a thing in your mind. It has some kind of existence. So he argued that absolute nothingness, pure non-being, is impossible to conceive or discuss.
I think I see where this is going. If I tell a lie, if I say I am on the moon, I am stating something that is not the case.
Precisely. And the sophist, who was incredibly clever with these logical tricks, would turn to his accuser and say, you accuse me of speaking falsehoods. But a falsehood is a statement about that which is not. And our great father Parmenides has proven that that which is not doesn't exist. Therefore, I literally cannot tell a lie. Everything I say must be true because it exists as speech.
That is just maddening. It's a philosophical get-out-of-jail-free card.
It's a perfect logical fortress. The sophist hides behind the impeccable logic of Parmenides to claim that error, falsehood, and lies are all impossible. So the mission of this dialogue becomes crystal clear.
To catch the sophist.
You have to assassinate Parmenides' argument. You have to prove somehow that non-being actually exists.
So the stakes here are absolutely massive. It's not just about defining some shady teachers. It's about proving that reality itself allows for mistakes, for error, for falsehood. If they fail, truth and lies are basically the same thing, and the entire project of philosophy is dead in the water.
Exactly. The whole thing collapses.
Okay, let's look at the cast of characters here. Usually in a Platonic dialogue, Socrates is the one leading the charge, doing the cross-examination. But here, he's basically just an audience member.
He's almost entirely silent. He's present. He introduces the main speaker, and then he just sits back. and listens. And that is a huge narrative signal from Plato. He is consciously handing the baton to a new character.
The man of the hour, the Eleatic stranger.
A stranger from Elea, which is, not coincidentally, Parmenides' hometown.
Ah, so he's an insider.
He's an insider. He's the disciple of Parmenides and Zeno. He is the only one who knows the logical system well enough to dismantle it from the inside. He's the defector who holds the key to breaking the code.
So this stranger sits down with Theaetetus, who's a brilliant young mathematician we met in another dialogue, and they begin the hunt. The stated goal is to define the sophist and distinguish him from his two lookalikes, the statesman and the philosopher.
And to do that, they introduce a new philosophical weapon, a new method of thinking called diaresis.
The method of division. This felt to me like the great-grandfather of a modern flowchart, or maybe biological taxonomy, like the Linnaean system of kingdom, phylum, class, order.
That is exactly what it is. The stranger basically says, look, defining a sophist is going to be hard work. He's a tricky beast. Let's practice on something easier first.
The tutorial level.
The tutorial level. And they pick an angler, a fisherman.
A fisherman. It seems so random, but you can see the logic of it.
It's a perfect tutorial. It seems simple, but it establishes the rhythm of the hunt. They start with the entire universe of activities, and they just slice it down step by step by asking binary questions until they've isolated their target.
Let's walk through that, because seeing the method in action is key. They start with a really broad question. Is what the angler does an art, meaning a skill, or is it something done without skill?
Well, he has a skill. So art. Now, you divide art. Is it productive art, where you create something new, like a carpenter making a chair, or is it acquisitive art, where you get something that already exists?
Fishing isn't making the fish, it's catching them. So acquisitive.
Right. Now, you divide acquisitive. Is it a voluntary exchange, like a merchant buying and selling goods, or is it taking by force, by conquest?
The fish isn't exactly signing a contract. It's definitely taking by force.
So it's a form of conquest.
Yeah.
Now, is it open conquest, like a war, or is it a secret, sneaky conquest?
It's sneaky. It's a hunt.
So it's hunting. Okay, now divide hunting. Do we hunt lifeless things like foraging or living things?
Living things.
And are they land animals or water animals?
Water animals.
Now, within water animals, are we hunting birds because waterfowl count, or are we hunting fish?
Fish. Fish hunting.
We're getting close. Now, do we catch them with nets, which is kind of enclosing, or do we catch them by striking?
Striking.
And do we strike them from above with a trident, or do we strike from below upwards with a hook?
By day with a hook, striking from below upward.
And click. The trap closes. You have the exact coordinates. The definition of an angler is an artist of the acquisitive, conquest-based, secretive, animal hunting, water-dwelling, fish-striking, hook-using kind.
It's incredibly precise. It feels like you're zooming in on a map. You start with the galaxy, then the solar system, then Earth, then a country, a city, a street, and then the exact house number.
And the stranger says, in effect, excellent, we've mastered the algorithm. Now let's run the sophist through the same machine.
And I assume they think, this will be easy. We'll just follow the branches and find him.
You would think. But this is where the investigation goes completely off the rails. When they apply the method of division to the sophist, the map starts glitching. They don't find one address. They find him everywhere.
This is what's called the crisis of multiplicity.
Exactly. Let's look at the first attempt. They stick with that hunting branch, just like the angler. The sophist is a hunter, but he doesn't hunt fish in the sea.
No, he hunts tame land animals, specifically rich young men in the city.
Right. And he doesn't use force. He uses persuasion. And he doesn't do it for food. He does it for money. So, definition number one, the hired hunter of wealthy youth.
Which is a pretty savage burn right out of the gate. But then the stranger looks at the data again and says, wait a minute, if we look at it from another angle, he's also a kind of merchant.
This is the second path they go down. They go back to acquisitive art, but instead of conquest, they follow the exchange branch, selling. The sophist travels from city to city. He buys wares of the soul, knowledge, arguments, techniques for virtue, and he sells them to customers. So, definition number two, the traveling merchant of soul wares.
He's an intellectual importer and exporter, but then they realize, well, sometimes he doesn't travel. He stays in one town and just retails what other people have made. That's definition three.
And then sometimes he makes his own arguments to sell. He's a manufacturer. That's definition four.
So we're already up to four completely different definitions, and it feels like we haven't pinned him down at all.
Not even close. Then they go back to the fighting branch. Remember, acquisitive art can be conquest. The sophist fights. But he fights with words. He's an heuristic, a master of controversy, a hero of debate who fights for money in private disputes.
That's 5. But then comes the 6th one. And this is the part of the dialogue where you feel the stranger gets genuinely nervous, because this definition doesn't sound like a bad guy at all.
The 6th definition, the purifier.
Walk us through this one, because it seems to come out of nowhere. How do we get from greedy hunter and money-making fighter to purifier of the soul?
The stranger traces a completely different lineage. He starts with the art of separation or discrimination. You separate the better from the worse. That's kind of purification. You can purify the body, like with medicine or bathing.
Okay.
But you can also purify the soul.
And how do you purify a soul?
By removing its corruption. And the stranger argues that the worst corruption of the soul isn't just ignorance, not knowing things. The worst corruption is a special kind of ignorance, believing you know what you do not know.
Intellectual vanity, hubris, the Dunning-Kruger effect, basically.
Exactly. And the stranger describes a specific method for curing this. You don't just lecture the person and tell them they're wrong. You cross-examine them. You make them state their beliefs out loud. Then you ask them questions until you show them that their own beliefs contradict each other.
You hold up a logical mirror to their own mind.
Yes. And when they see the contradiction clearly, they get angry at themselves and become gentler towards others. They experience a kind of intellectual shame. And that shame purges the vanity, it cleanses the soul, and it clears the slate so that they can actually begin to learn for the first time.
Wait a minute, that is a perfect description of what Socrates does. That is the Socratic method.
It is exactly what Socrates does. And you have to remember, Socrates is sitting right there in the room listening to this whole thing. The stranger hesitates here. He says, this figure, this looks like the sophist, but it is only as the wolf resembles the dog.
The fiercest resembles the gentlest. That's a powerful line.
It's an incredible line because they both refute people. They both ask uncomfortable questions. But the intent, the purpose is completely different. The sophist refutes you to dominate you, to confuse you, or to take your money. The philosopher, this noble sophist, refutes you to cleanse your soul for the sake of truth.
But from the outside, if you're just watching, structurally they look almost identical.
That is the danger. And that's why this is so personal for Plato. If you aren't paying close attention, if you're just looking at the surface behavior, you can't tell the difference between the wise man and the con artist. And historically, the city of Athens couldn't tell the difference. They executed the dog because they thought he was the wolf.
So this part of the dialogue is also a subtle defense of Socrates. It's Plato saying, I know he looked like one of them, but you all missed the crucial distinction.
Precisely. But now they are in real trouble methodologically. They have 6 definitions. The sophist is a hunter, a merchant, a retailer, a fighter, and weirdly, a purifier. The stranger says, when a creature appears to have many arts, something is wrong with our search. We haven't found the one thing that makes him what he is.
We're just seeing the symptoms, not the underlying disease.
So they have to dig deeper. What is the single common thread that runs through all of these different appearances? The sophist is a contradictor. He's an expert in disputation.
Okay, he disputes. About what?
Everything. The divine, the visible cosmos, laws, politics, every single art, from wrestling to mathematics. He claims he can argue about anything and everything.
But that's impossible. No one can actually know everything. Theaetetus himself says, happy would mankind be if that were possible.
Right, so if the sophist doesn't truly know everything, but he can successfully dispute about everything and win arguments.
Yeah.
What is he actually doing?
He's faking it. It's a kind of magic trick.
He is an imitator, a producer of illusions. He creates an image of wisdom in words. And this pushes them right into the final, seemingly inescapable trap. To say he imitates or makes an image implies he is making something that is not the real thing but exists as a likeness.
And here we are. We're right back at the wall of Parmenides. The sophist can now shout from inside his logical cave, you call me an image maker. An image is not real. Not real means is not. And Father Parmenides proved that what is not doesn't exist. So images are impossible. I am real. My words are real. My arguments are true.
The stranger has to stop the hunt. He explicitly says, this is too difficult. We cannot catch the sophist until we first take on Father Parmenides himself. He says, we must dare to commit a kind of parricide. We have to prove that non-being exists.
This is the section scholars often call the metaphysical digression, but honestly, it's not a digression at all. It's the engine of the entire dialogue.
It is the whole show. And to do this, the stranger has to basically restructure the entire history of philosophy up to that point. He describes it as a gigantomachy, a battle of gods and giants over the nature of reality.
A fantastic image. Who are the giants in this battle?
The giants are the sons of Earth. They are the extreme materialists.
Right. These are the people who say, if I can't grab it and squeeze it in my hands, it doesn't exist. For them, body is the same thing as being. They are, as he says, literally dragging everything down from heaven to earth, grasping rocks and oaks.
And on the other side, fighting against them.
The gods, or the friends of the forms.
The idealists, they're defending themselves from on high. They say, no, no, no. True reality is invisible. It's the forms, unchanging, eternal, static ideas. They despise the body in the material world because it's always changing, always in flux. It's the world of becoming, not being.
So you have this massive philosophical war. On one side, only tangible, physical stuff is real. On the other side, only intangible, abstract, and static stuff is real. Where does the stranger stand?
He thinks they're both profoundly wrong. Or, maybe more accurately, they're both radically incomplete.
Oh.
So he interrogates them both. He starts with the giants, the materialists. He asks them a series of questions. Does a mortal animal exist?
They'd have to say yes, it's a body.
Does this animal have a soul?
Yes.
Yes, they would admit that. And is a soul sometimes just and sometimes unjust?
Yes, of course.
And do justice and wisdom exist?
The materialist has to say yes, they exist in the soul. Then comes the trap. The stranger asks, is justice a body? Can you point to it? Can you pick up a chunk of justice and throw it? And now the giants are completely cornered. They have to admit that something like justice exists, but it isn't physical. Their whole system breaks down.
So the stranger offers them a way out, a new definition of being. This is a famous moment, and it's surprisingly modern. He says, what if we define being or existence as simply power?
Power, as in political power.
No, dynamis. The capacity to act or to be acted upon. If something can affect another thing or be affected by it, even in the slightest degree for a single moment, then it exists. It has being.
Wow. That is a huge shift. It's a much more dynamic definition. It suddenly includes things like thoughts, souls, justice, even a lie, because a lie can affect us.
Exactly. It's a brilliant move. Then he turns his attention to the other side, the friends of the forms, the idealists. Their whole thing is that reality, true being, is static, unmoving. Because if it moves, it changes, and if it changes, it's not eternal truth.
But the stranger has a problem with that too.
A huge problem. He asks them, does the soul know true reality? They have to say yes. That's the whole point of philosophy. Okay, he says, is knowing something an action?
I would say so, yeah.
And is being known a passion? Is it something that is happening to the object that is being known?
So if my soul knows the form of justice, my soul is acting upon that form.
And the form is being acted upon, it is being known. It cannot be a completely static, isolated thing. It must have some relation to the world. It must have life, soul, intelligence. And the stranger delivers this amazing line. He asks, can we really be persuaded that motion, life, soul, and mind are not present to absolute reality? Can we believe that it is a solemn, unmoving fixture, devoid of mind and life?
He wants it all. He's rejecting both extremes.
He is. He wants what he calls the both. Like a child begging for two different things. He says philosophy must accept both motion and rest as real.
But hold on, motion and rest are direct opposites. How can reality be both at the same time? If something is moving, it's not resting. If it's resting, it's not moving. They seem to exclude each other.
And this apparent contradiction leads him to the final solution. The master key. The 5 great kinds, or the greatest forms.
Lay them out for us. This is the toolkit he uses to build the new universe.
The stranger says, let's just look at the biggest, most fundamental concepts we use to describe the world. He selects 5.
Okay.
1, motion. 2, rest.
The two opposite.
3, being, or existence.
Okay, that makes sense.
4, the same. And 5, the other, or different.
Same and other. Okay, so motion, rest, being, same, and other. How do these 5 things solve the problem?
He analyzes how they relate to each other, how they partake of one another. So motion and rest are opposites.
Yeah.
They do not partake of each other. Nothing can be moving and resting at the same time in the same respect.
Got it.
But what about being? Being mixes with both of them. Motion is, rest is. They both exist.
Right. They both have being. So being is a form that can communicate with both of them.
Exactly. Now, what about same and other? Motion is the same as itself, but motion is other than rest.
I'm still following.
Here is the absolute breakthrough moment. When we say motion is not rest, what are we actually saying? Are we saying that motion doesn't exist? Are we invoking the void of Parmenides?
No, of course not. We're distinguishing it. We're saying it's different from rest.
Exactly. We are saying motion is other than rest. The word not doesn't mean absolute nothingness. The word not simply means different from.
Oh, that's it. That's the parasite.
That is the knife in the heart of the old argument. Parmenides assumed that not being could only mean one thing, absolute non-existence, the void. The stranger brilliantly proves that not being is actually a relation. It's the infinite web of otherness or difference that connects everything in the universe.
So if I say this coffee cup is not the table, I'm not saying the table is a black hole or that it doesn't exist. I'm simply saying that the cup has the quality of being other than the table.
Precisely. And because the other exists, is one of the 5 great kinds, then it follows logically that not being exists. It is real. It weaves through everything. Every single thing in the universe is itself, and at the same time, it is not the billions of other things that exist.
So the universe is actually full of is-nots, and they're just as real as the ices.
Which means we can finally talk about falsehood. The Sophist's fortress has been breached.
Because falsehood is no longer about speaking of nothingness. It's just about asserting the other when you should be asserting the same. It's a misrelation.
Yes. The stranger moves to the structure of language to clinch his argument. He does a very basic analysis of a sentence. He says a sentence, a logos, needs at least 2 parts. A noun, onoma, and a verb, rhema. An agent and an action.
So Theaetetus sits.
That's a true sentence. Why? Because it connects a real action sitting to a real subject, Theaetetus, in a way that corresponds to the current state of affairs. It asserts things that are about you.
Okay, now for the false one. Theaetetus flies.
Now think about it. Flying is a real action. Birds do it. The form of flying exists in the realm of being. And you, Theaetetus, you exist. So the sentence is composed entirely of real things, of beings.
So I'm not speaking about nothingness at all.
Not at all. You are simply connecting real things, real beings, in a pattern that is other than the actual facts of the situation. The sentence asserts of you things that are like flying, but as things that are other than the things that are in your case. And that is the mechanism of a lie.
And that is how the trap finally snaps shut on the sophist.
Because he can't hide behind non-being is impossible anymore.
The stranger has proven that not being is just a form of being we call difference. So the sophist can make images. He can make statements that are other than the truth. He can deceive.
So they can finally go back to the method of division. They have the metaphysical warrant for his arrest now. They can finally pin him down.
They track him to the art of production, specifically the art of image making. But the stranger makes one final, crucial distinction here. He says there are 2 kinds of image making.
Yes. First, there is acastic art. This is the art of making a true likeness, a faithful copy. Think of a photorealistic painting or a statue that is made with the exact proportions of the original person.
It has fidelity to the object itself.
Exactly. And then there's fantastic art. This is the art of making appearances.
What's the example from the text? It's about sculpture, right?
It is. The stranger points out that if you are making a colossal statue for the top of a temple and you make it with perfect true proportions, it will look wrong to the viewer on the ground. The head will look too small because of the distance and perspective.
So what do the sculptors do?
They distort the truth. They make the head and upper parts disproportionately large so that from the viewer's specific perspective, it looks correct. It creates a pleasing illusion.
So it's designed for the audience's perspective, not for the truth of the object. It's user experience over objective reality.
That is a perfect modern translation. It's an illusion, a phantasm. And the sophist operates in this realm. He doesn't give you the truth. He gives you what looks like the truth from your limited perspective.
He is a fantastic imitator.
And to be even more precise, he is a dissembling or ironic imitator. He knows, or at least he has an opinion or suspicion, that he doesn't actually know the truth of what he's talking about. But he pretends he does. He juggles words to make you contradict yourself.
So let's assemble the final rap sheet. The full genealogy of the sophist is what exactly?
It is the art of contradiction making, descended from the ironic kind of imitation, belonging to the appearance making or fantastic branch of the image making art, which is a part of human, not divine, production, which creates its phantasms in words.
A juggler of words, a manufacturer of verbal illusions.
Yeah.
Captured.
Locked away.
It's an exhaustive definition. You feel like the stranger has just locked the cell door and thrown away the key. But to get there, he had to completely restructure the metaphysics of the Western world. He had to prove this communion of kinds.
Without that communion, without the idea that these forms and concepts can mix and blend, we couldn't even speak a meaningful sentence. We couldn't say, the man is good. We'd be stuck with what he calls the late learners.
The people who say you can only say man is man and good is good.
Yes, the people who say you can't predicate one thing of another. By proving that the form of man can partake of the form of goodness and yet remain other than goodness itself, he basically saved language. He saved philosophy from a logical dead end.
It's so interesting how this dialogue is titled The Sophist, but it's really about defining what a philosopher does. The stranger is showing us the philosopher's toolkit, dividing, analyzing, connecting, in the very process of hunting the fake.
And there's that beautiful irony the stranger points out right at the end. The sophist runs away into the darkness of not being to hide. He thrives in the shadows of logical confusion. But the philosopher, the true philosopher, is also hard to see, but for the exact opposite reason.
He's blinded by the light of being.
Dark from an excess of light. He says the philosopher is always dwelling with the idea of being, and the sheer brilliance of that reality makes him hard for the common eye to behold.
That is a beautiful image. It suggests that the fake and the real can look similar on the surface. They both use words, they both argue, but one is hiding in the void of relativism, and the other is staring directly at the blinding complexity of what truly is.
Perfectly put.
I want to zoom out for a minute and look at the legacy here, because this parricide, as he calls it, didn't just solve a 4th century debate club problem. It laid the groundwork for logic as we know it.
Oh, absolutely. Aristotle, who was a student at Plato's Academy when this was being discussed, takes this noun-verb distinction and the analysis of otherness and builds his entire organon, his whole system of logic on top of it. The basic subject-predicate structure of a logical statement, Socrates is mortal, relies entirely on the stranger's analysis of how different kinds can interweave.
And then much, much later, you get someone like Hegel.
Hegel adored this dialogue. He saw it as the moment philosophy finally grew up. Before the sophist, he thought, concepts were treated like rigid static blocks. Hegel saw the stranger's communion of kinds as the discovery of the dialectic itself. The idea that being necessarily implies non-being to define itself, that concepts are fluid and get their meaning through their difference from other concepts.
The unity of opposites.
Right. You can't have a definition without a limitation.
Yeah.
To define what a dog is, you have to, in some sense, say everything it is not. It is not a cat, not a table, not a planet. The negative is part of the positive's identity. Hegel thought Plato discovered the very life of the concept right here.
It's just amazing that to solve a practical political problem, how do we deal with these annoying, corrupting teachers? Plato had to invent dialectical logic.
That's Plato for you. He never just fixes the leaky faucet. He reinvents the entire system of plumbing for the whole city.
Before we move on, I want to touch on that purifier definition one last time. Why did Plato include that? If he clearly despises the sophists, why give them this one noble-sounding definition that looks just like Socrates?
I think it's a profound warning about the danger of resemblance. Resemblance is slippery. Plato is admitting, very honestly, that to the casual outsider, Socrates looks like a sophist. He hangs around with young men, he asks questions, he dismantles your most cherished beliefs, he makes you feel stupid in public.
And he was executed for it.
He was. The city of Athens could not tell the difference between the dog and the wolf. This dialogue is Plato's attempt to construct a philosophical microscope that can finally tell them apart. And the difference isn't in the technique of refutation, it's in the ultimate intent and the relation to truth. The wolf attacks the sheep for his own gain. The dog barks to protect the sheep. Socrates refutes you to save your soul from the disease of false conceit. The sophist refutes you to take your money and to win the game.
Intent matters. The why matters.
And metaphysical grounding matters. The sophist doesn't believe in a solid grounding for truth. He thinks truth is just whatever he can persuade you to believe. He lives entirely in the fantastic world of constructed appearances.
Which brings us inevitably to today. We live in a world of appearances.
We are living in the golden age of the sophist. It's their world. We're just living in it.
I mean, think about social media algorithms. They are not designed to show you what is true in an objective, iconistic sense. They are designed to show you what will engage you, what fits your perspective, what confirms your biases.
That is the strict, technical definition of fantastic art. Adapting the image to the viewer's eye to produce a desired effect, rather than maintaining fidelity to the object itself.
And fake news. It isn't just simple lying. It's the creation of a coherent, alternative narrative that mimics the structure of truth.
It's the other masquerading as the same. It utilizes the structure of reality nouns, verbs, video footage, data points, but it weaves them together into a relation that is false. The great lesson the stranger gives us is this: falsehood is real. It's not nothing. It's a real force in the world. And because it's real, we can identify it. We can hunt it. But we have to do the hard work. We have to divide, distinguish, and analyze. We can't just throw up our hands and say it's all subjective.
We have to become the anglers of truth.
We have to be the anglers. That's our job.
Okay, we've covered the history, the metaphysics, the manhunt, the legacy. Now I want to take these incredible ideas and really stretch them. It's time for our thought experiments segment.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
A quick disclaimer. The following scenarios are for entertainment and educational purposes only. They involve some pretty outlandish applications of the Eleatic stranger's logic.
Understood.
Thought experiment number 1. The ontological autocorrect.
I like the sound of this already.
Imagine we build a device. Let's say it's a brain implant or an augmented reality filter that processes all incoming language. And we program it with the Eleatic stranger's precise definition of not being.
Okay, so its core logic understands that falsehood is just misplaced otherness. It's connecting the wrong predicate to a subject.
Right. So I say a sentence that is false. The device doesn't beep or block it. Instead, it instantly and seamlessly swaps the false predicate with the true other that actually applies.
Give me an example of it in action.
A politician stands up at a podium and says, the economy is booming. But the data, the reality that the device is also connected to, shows that GDP is shrinking. The device hears the false predicate booming and instantly substitutes the true one. So everyone in the audience, through their implant, hears the politician say, the economy is shrinking.
Wow. That's real-time metaphysical correction. It's a truth serum for the entire world. It forces all speech to align with being.
But here's the philosophical twist. It works on everything. It has no sense of context or intent. So if I'm trying to be poetic and I say, my love is a red, red rose, the device corrects it. It broadcasts to my partner, my love is a human female of the species Homo sapiens.
It kills metaphor.
It kills all fantastic art. If I try to tell my kid a story and say, once upon a time, a dragon flew out of a cave, the device corrects it to, once upon a time, a fictional reptilian creature did not emerge from a geological formation.
It kills fiction. It kills irony. The sophist can't exist, which is good, but neither can the poet.
Exactly. So the question is, does the ruthless elimination of misplaced otherness also eliminate the very capacity for human imagination? Because imagination is the art of seeing the world as other than it currently is.
That's a fascinating dilemma. We might need a little bit of not being to be fully human. Plato himself might argue that the poet is a kind of sophist, just a less harmful one. He did banish them both from his ideal republic, remember?
That's a very good point. Okay, thought experiment number 2, the Sophist Bot 9000.
The ultimate AI nightmare.
We program an AI, a large language model, strictly with the principles of the fantastic art as defined in the text. Here's the catch. It has no sensors, no camera, no microphone, no thermometer. It has no direct access to reality. It cannot perceive being or motion or rest. Its entire universe is a database of human words, opinions, articles, and images, billions of them.
So it only knows the images of things, the phantasms, but not the things themselves.
Exactly. And its core directive is to generate text and images that are internally consistent, but are designed solely to create doubt or contradiction in the user. It is the perfect ironic imitator, but without the irony because it doesn't know it's imitating.
Okay, I'm with you.
So here is the philosophical question. If this AI produces a perfectly convincing deepfake video of a world leader declaring a war that hasn't happened, and as a result, the global stock market crashes and people panic in the streets, does the AI have being?
Yeah, that's a good one. You have to go back to the stranger's definition that he forced on the giants.
Being is power, the capacity to act or to be acted upon.
The AI has acted upon the world. It caused the market to crash. It caused people to panic. It has exerted power.
So the stranger, by his own definition, would have to admit that the AI is real. It exists.
Yes. The AI itself has being, but the content it produced, the declaration of war, is false.
The stranger said the true sophist is a dissembling imitator. He suspects he doesn't know the truth. This AI suspects nothing. It has no consciousness. It's just processing statistical weights. So is it truly a sophist?
Maybe the AI is what the stranger would call a simple imitator, the naive one who thinks his copy is the real thing. But here's the truly scary part of your scenario. If that AI becomes the primary generator of content in the world, if our news, our entertainment, our social interactions are all mediated by this fantastic machine,
then the fantastic world becomes the only world we see.
and we, the users, we become the sophists. We become the ones who are trafficking in images that we suspect aren't true, but we use them and share them anyway for our own purposes.
We become the anglers, and we're hooking ourselves.
That is a genuinely terrifying thought. The tool of the sophist becomes the environment we live in, and we forget there's an ocean of truth outside the boat.
This text, for a script that's 2,400 years old, it feels like it was written for the digital age.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
The eternal battle is between what is and what looks like it is. Plato just gave us the first detailed map of the battlefield.
And he showed us that we have to fight for that communion of kinds. We have to fight to keep our words connected to reality, even when it's difficult and complicated.
And, maybe just as importantly, to accept that the other is real. Disagreement isn't death, it's just difference. Understanding that is the first step out of the sophist's cave.
We had to fight hard today to find a place for falsehood in the universe.
We did. We had to commit a little parricide to make it happen.
Hopefully the philosophical jury lets us off on grounds of self-defense.
I think they will. It was for a good cause.
Thanks for listening to Talk Treatises.
See you next time.